Hi, welcome to the Cooking with Addie channel. Welcome if you're new here. Today we're going to be making authentic carbonara from scratch. Traditionally you use guanciale, which I have here, but it is very hard to find. I had to go to 6 stores to find it. So if you want to be a little bit lazier or spend less on it, I would suggest using pancetta or even bacon will work as well. On the guanciale, as you can see, the outside is not good. It's just the skin and the aging process of it, so it's just very hard and unappetizing. After you get all the outside skin off, you can now dice it. It is a very tough meat to cut through, so even if you have a sharp knife, it's difficult to cut through, so be mindful of that. But just look at that, it is beautiful. It has a lot of fat, but I'll start to render that out later on in the process. In fact, that's the word of the day. Render it down. Even if you have pancetta or bacon, make sure to render all the fat out and make it nice and crispy. Now that we got it in strips, we're just going to start cubing it up. The size doesn't matter too much as long as they're all consistently the same size. I wouldn't suggest eating it in this state. I gave it a try and it tasted interesting, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's very chewy and you have to chew it for a long time. Now let's toss that in a bowl and just set it aside for now while we make the rest of our recipe. Alright, now for the base of our sauce. So we're going to start off with 8 eggs in a bowl, and we're just going to crack them on in. As you can see in the front here, I also have 8 ounces of Parmesan Reggiano and 4 ounces of pecorino. And these two cheeses aren't sold everywhere, but I would highly recommend getting the real stuff, Parmesan Reggiano and Pecorino Romano. Yes, it does make a difference. So once you get them all added up, I'm just going to grab a fork and get to whisking. And make sure to pop all of your yolks and just make sure it's all well whisked together. You want it all to be uniform and almost like a nice sauce. And don't worry about overmixing. The more the merrier. The more you whisk it, the more velvety and flavorful your sauce will be. If you like what you see and you're interested in cooking, feel free to subscribe down below and suggest what you want to see next. I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say. And for the noodles, I'm picking bucatini. Bucatini noodles are a lot like spaghetti mixed with macaroni, so they're just long macaroni noodles. After you get them in the water, now it's time to start rendering down our guanciale, and I have my stove between 2 and 3, just a very low burn to render down that fat. Remember just to render it down, render it down. After a little while you can see it starting to become translucent, and just keep on rendering. If you use pancetta, pancetta has a lot of fat just like this, so just make sure to render it down just like this and pull some of the fat out after you're done rendering. Another thing to keep in mind is just to constantly stir it, avoiding burning, and that also draws out the fat a lot quicker. And as you can see, we're starting to get a little bit of fat, but we're going to keep on going. Just make sure to render it down, and also don't forget to stir it either.
A few moments later.
Alrighty, now as you can see, we're starting to get some foam and getting a lot more fat rendered out of there. Just keep on stirring it and make sure not to burn it. The last thing you want to do is mess up your $40 meat. If you use pancetta, it'd be more like $10, and if you use bacon, it'd be more like $5. So just keep that in mind when you go to make this yourself. I think it cost me about $60 total for everything, the cheese, meat, and noodles, and also a baguette I got just as a side dish for it. And alrighty, here we go. Now we're just going to shift all the meat to one side of the pan and just tilt it to get all that fat out. I usually leave about 2 ounces in the pan just to add more flavor and better texture. And you can use the fat for other things, like I can fry some eggs on there later and have eggs and toast, and it has the guanciale flavor. It's so delicious. I would highly recommend. Now it's time to turn your heat down a bit because you're about to start adding your noodles. Alrighty, time to add the noodles. And with the noodles, I like to add a good 4 to 6 ounces of pasta water to it just to help it form the sauce. And you can always add more later if you'd like. As you can see, I'm starting to form a little bit of a problem that I didn't realize yet. My pan is way too small for the amount of noodles I have in there, and you'll see what happens soon. So still thinking my pan is big enough, I decided to add my eggs to it, and I started to mix it all together, and I soon realized that that was a big mistake. Luckily I had another pot on deck, and I just tossed it in there, and it all worked out fine. And when you add your egg mixture, make sure to constantly stir it quickly, and if you need to add a little more pasta water, That's how you form your sauce and not into scrambled eggs. So just a constant stir until you get that velvety smooth texture. As you can see, it's starting to get that nice texture. It's a little bit watery still, so just continue to let it cook. And we're almost there. And once you're happy with your consistency, it's time to move on to plating. While I'm plating, I'm going to try and describe the flavor of this dish. The best way I could describe it is it tastes very aged in the best way possible because you have the aged pecorino romano, the aged parmigiano reggiano, and then you have the guanciale that just brings it all together, and it's all very creamy and delicious. Almost forgot the reggiano on top, and don't forget to wipe your plate either. If you like what you see, don't forget to like and subscribe. The baguette was also a very good option for this dish. It added a lot more flavor and also texture to the dish. Thank you so much for watching, and y'all have a wonderful rest of your day.